everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And I'm joined by my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot Rob, and we're here for Yield tier list.
Yet another
Right,
tier
right
list.
before should just be the new name for the channel, just Spark of tier list here. But everyone and their dog has created a tier list at this point. I would say, and there's a lot of them out there. We've kind of waited until the absolute last point because I wanted to digest as much actual data from playtesting, from tournaments, from Talishar, what have you, and
Mhm.
create the best representation of an opinion I'll have before PT without anything shifting too dramatically. And the Battle Hard Enrichment just happened, pretty much, and so that's kind of like the last big event that you can realistically get data from.
Right.
And I think we all have like a fairly, I think people at the competitive level have a pretty good idea on what the meta is kind of looking to shape up to be, at least in the classic constructed format, right? And really, you just have people harkening back to like the triangle meta, right? But in reality, there are a couple of heroes that are kind of rising cream of the crop, but ultimately it's still an open field. And I think that's LSS's like prerogative, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what they want.
I
They
think
they
that's the
want
best case scenario.
Yeah, because the more heroes are viable, the more people like are incentivized to keep playing and maining a particular hero. Like once they become like unviable, then they just kind of like lose a big sense of like, do I even want to play this hero competitively?
Yep.
It's just like a casual hero at that point, right?
Yep.
Um, so let's go through it here. We realize the Arachne is the young Arachne. We're talking about CC Arachne in this particular
Yep.
point here. So don't
I
don't
put
don't
the
no
wrong
flaming.
image, but this is
It's
indeed the
fine.
CC Arachne. This one looks cool though. I kind of like the Blitz one a little better.
Yeah, they got them on the mat too, I think, for the
Mm,
armor here. Anyways,
the armory
solitary confinement.
map.
So
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well, I
guess we're gonna
mean,
go chronologically, or
we can
sorry,
just
not
start
chronologically, alphabetically.
alphabetically. Yeah, sure. This is the way the tier
Hmm.
list laid it out. So we can start with Arachne. I'm just gonna
Okay,
slot him in B right away. We could move him up or down, but what do you think about
so
Arachne?
really, when we're looking at pre outsiders, Arachne was like pretty much C, like
Yep.
that's CD kind of like he had like such stark matchups where you just like it was unwinnable. Like the Dromai matchup was just kind of unwinnable,
Mm-hmm.
and he struggled into a lot of different decks that were able to just kind of run him over. Like his hero ability is like pretty much no text most of the time. It doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, it's cool that you get
Yeah.
to look at their card. Yeah, that you're kind of you're screwing with them a bit, but it doesn't actually do anything to win the game per se. Actively, anyways, it's more of a supporting thing. And so for a hero classic constructed in this meta to actually be blank text really just helps you if they have like any card that says you could lose your hero ability. Oh, joke's on
Mm-hmm.
you. You're not standing in versus me.
Yeah. You want
But
to sleep
uh,
dart? Not gonna work.
yeah, crush confidence. All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So yeah,
but
like you said, his ability isn't going to help him in the aggro matchups, really. Right? They're just gonna run him over anyway. They don't care about their deck that much. Even into control, right? They can probably block him out. It's fine. He was
yeah,
basically a control hero, I guess.
he was finding the most success. I think Tao Tao double PQ'd, the 1-2 PQs on a very heavily control based list that had like hard to find out a bunch of D reacts. I think it had Oasis, and you really just grind him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the key is the one good thing Arachne has is those contract cards are like the peak effectiveness as far as their stats go. Like they're zero
Mm-hmm.
for fours at red to block for three. That is, and you get like so many different cards that do that, right? And so I think that's kind of where he shines, of that his blocking ability as far as like block with three cards, come in for four, block with whatever, still come in with a card that will annoy them because you will eventually mill them out.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. But the issue is that in Outsiders, he like the stealth cards don't do anything for him, right? The stealth cards are mainly for Uzuri and young Arachne.
Yeah.
You're not gonna want to trade in your zero for fours for zero for threes
Yeah.
in red. Like it's just not really something you're gonna want to do. Um, he, the other situation, his specialization is just like flavor text, like regicide. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you compare
That's true.
regicide to oh
The
man, what's Missouri's Shakedown.
shakedown.
Compare
Yes.
regicide and Shakedown, and you're just like, how are these heroes comparable in my view in a competitive sense? He's fun. Arachne's fun as hell, and I've played him on the channel. He's fun as hell,
Yeah.
but he has a
I,
couple really funny matchups, but outside of that, I don't think he's a real competitive pick. And honestly, I'm putting him a D at this point.
D.
I just
Okay.
don't. I'm
Yeah.
just not in it. He's just like, yeah, if you run into like, yeah, he's got a decent matchup into some decks that really don't like he's decent to dash, honestly. I think he's got like a fair dash matchup. I think his Lexi matchup's actually not bad either. He could do
Hmm.
okay into Iyslander. Like it's kind of whatever. And then you run into the most random decks like Rhinar, and then you're just like doomed because he just takes your hand and he just
Right.
hits you. So and yeah, oh, your Oldhim matchup's also unwinnable. I should have
Yeah.
said that. Like,
I
your
think that
Oldhim
that's
matchup is
key,
doomed.
right? Yeah, because if you're
Yeah,
failing to beat one of the top tier decks of the meta,
it's
how
not.
viable can
It's
you
not
be?
even. It's not even beat. I think you just get steamrolled by Oldhim,
Right. It's
especially
not
like
even
the
close.
defensive
Yeah.
ones. It's not even close. And then
Yeah.
Dromai is also a very popular pick, and you're getting steamrolled by two of the top three meta picks. Like
Hmm.
picking Arakni is a labor of love here for the P tier.
Yeah. Let's
So
move on.
we're
I
gonna give
think
him D.
we've given him a good ranking here, a fair ranking
You
of D.
beat him with a hammer.
All right, Azalea coming next. So we know, I'll just say off the bat, Azalea has been performing. I think it was in the Chicago Brawl. It was a Azalea versus Azalea finals. So Azalea is
Mhm.
showing results, mainly because she got some really good stuff in Outsiders. I think her the card pool has been really expanded to give her
Yeah.
an edge into matchups that weren't that favorable before. But now she's really pushed her how disruptive she can be, right? So I think her aggro matchup has improved, her control matchup has improved. So she's doing pretty well.
Yeah. So I think so. So my initial inclination was to put Azalea in A, which is ironic. You know, A for Azalea. I can read.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think Azalea was obviously she was featured in Outsiders, right? So she got a lot of more attention, a lot more card quality. She's now overflowing with card quality to the point that getting to a clean 80 is the issue, whereas
yeah.
beforehand you had to fit a lot of like
Just filler
really
arrows, right?
mediocre cards. Yeah, a lot of mediocre cards. Whereas now Azalea is a little bit more toolboxy, right? Like you have different arrows that fit different needs and different metas. The the thing with Azalea in the Chicago that like that was the first event literally a day after Outsiders release. Nobody
Mm,
knew what anything was where it was going, right?
right.
And you've seen Azalea kind of fall off in like the ranking just as far as like the actual wins that Azalea top eights and wins like for the most recent Battle Hard in Richmond. I don't think it did show up. There was one in
There
top
was
eight,
one
but
in
that's
top eight, I
about it.
think like fifth or
I believe there
sixth.
was one in top eight. I
Um,
think they came in at eighth seed and they ended up getting to
mm,
semis or something along those lines. But then they saw, and the main reason she's an A is because Oldhim is a hero, and I think
mm-hmm.
there is, I think the Azalea into Oldhim match like she's gotten a couple tools that theoretically should help the matchup. I have not seen at any kind of competitive level an Oldhim ever be threatened by Azalea
Mm,
in any sense of the world, any sense of the word,
right.
and
Yeah.
as you know the issue here is that yeah you got some cards but then Oldham got peace of mind so he has another way of dealing with your dominated crap.
Mm,
It's just like
right.
point being is that I think Azalea is very good if you're Gem Bless and you get all like the aggro decks. Like Azalea is very good into Iyslander. I think that Azalea is good into aggro decks.
Mm,
Like eliminates costs like the ninjas, Katsu,
right.
Fi. If anyone still plays Fi anymore,
Yeah, that'll come
probably
up
like
later.
really good against yeah, good against like Briar and stuff like that. I think she's still not. I think she's okay into Bravo. I think it really
Mm,
depends on the Bravos list. I think she just gets kind of the Dromai matchup. I honestly have seen a lot of this matchup. We reviewed one. We reviewed this matchup on the channel. I honestly think it goes either way, but I
okay.
still
Yeah.
think it's Dromai favored. Like
Right.
you can Azalea. I don't know what Azalea mains are saying, but I've seen the matchup played out a couple times with a couple different lists. I still think Dromai has the edge here, and I still think you get steamrolled by Oldhim, and I'm expecting to see a lot of Oldhim and a lot of Dromai at PT. So I can't in good conscience put Azalea any higher than A tier,
Yeah.
but that is kind
I'm
of where
fine
I'm
with
landing
that.
on Azalea.
Yeah, I was okay with either low S or high A or somewhere
Yeah,
around there. So
she's S tier when like nobody knew what was going on
right.
and what the meta was, right?
And people
Yeah,
were still scrambling to figure out how to play against her or how to tackle some of the top heroes. I think she kind of slipped under. But
slipped under the radar. Yeah,
yeah. All right, let's move on to Dory.
Boltyn. Are we on Boltyn?
Oh, did I miss up? Yeah, sorry. Let's put Boltyn there. Sorry, my tier list is a bit different than yours here. Okay, so we have Boltyn. Um, Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I have
so
not seen a Boltyn in a long time. Um, I th- I
I mean,
think I think with the top heroes that we have in the current meta, it's very difficult for Boltyn to do well. Azalea is disruptive. Lexi's very aggressive, and then you have Control Oldhim, right? And you have Dromai, of course, too. That is probably going to steamroll you as you wait for your combo. So I don't know if Boltyn has much game in this current meta.
I think realistically, actual Bolton players are just waiting for the expansion, the Dawn till Dusk or whatever it's called. I think
Um,
ultimately
yeah,
they're just waiting for the for
whatever
the
light
new
support they
expansion.
get. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I
light
think
warrior or whatever.
D probably for Boltyn now. D or low C. I don't know.
I feel like we can put him at D for the Pro Tour, possibly low C. I think they're the same in all intents and purposes,
Right,
right? But like
right.
let's shove them and see. I really don't have that much to add on Bolden that you didn't already. Like, there's really no like, is he awful? No, he's not awful. But like, is there an actual reason? This is for the PT here, right? So like, is there an actual
Yeah.
reason that is he good into Dromai, Oldhim, Azalea, Lex? Like, he's not really good into any of these decks,
hmm
right? And so
I
if
guess
that's the
if it was
case,
a very hyper defensive Oldhim deck, he might be able to get a Lumina combo. But Oldhims are currently
yeah,
they're currently stacking some mid range packages. So into those kind of decks, it's not
yeah.
looking too good.
Yeah, because Oldhim could be on mid range. If Oldhim's on fatigue life gain, Oldhim could be at like 60 health by the time
That's
like
true.
Bolton actually does anything.
That's true. Yeah, if you take the Oldhim deck and really push him to the max in terms of control, actually, he might be able to to withstand a full
Yeah,
Lumina
so
combo. Yeah, that's true.
I'm not even sure if that's true or not. So, but we'll leave him at C for now. Like we're like the bottom of C.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
so
fair.
alphabetically here, I got Bravo as the next one,
Bravo. Let's do it.
and
B
the
for
first
Bravo.
letter of Bravo is B. I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
I really, with all the fiber of my being, I want to put him in A. And there was a top 8 Bravo in Battlehard
Yeah.
Enrichment. I will
Yeah. There is
caveat to say that
a result.
Bravo was never kind of gone because his overall power level is still quite reasonable.
hmm
And unlike Oldham, Bravo can finish game. Bravo can finish games in a timely
And not
manner
go
with
for
the
not go to
power of
time.
dominate.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Bravo can go to time. It's
Yeah.
just that he has a lot more aggressive win conditions compared to Oldham's aggressive win conditions are not very good because they can block, right? Whereas Azalea and Bravo can force damage if you
Yeah.
don't have the sideboard tax or your like deck doesn't play a lot of preventions or D-reacts and stuff like that. They will finish a game, right?
Yeah. You
The
can't leave them unchecked, these heroes, because they will find a way to kill you if you give them enough room.
Yeah, and you're looking at like he didn't really get much out of outsiders. I don't
Yeah.
think the key here is that I mean you could run Peace of Mind and Bravo, I guess,
Right.
but like he really didn't get a ton to write home about. But I think the key is that looking at his matchup spread
hmm
among the top heroes,
Yeah. So
Rangers,
Rangers is fine.
Azalea, Lexi, good matchup,
Yeah.
relatively good matchup. Like I think you're not smushing that matchup, but I think you can be favored into that matchup.
Yeah.
But the issue is recently it's been a lot harder with the new cards that Lexi got specifically. I think that Azalea is a little bit more tricky, but I think it's a little bit difficult for Bravo to keep up tempo in those kinds of matchups, and that eventually. If you ever have to just swing hammer pass, I think you're going to be on the back foot for the rest of the game.
Mm,
And
that's fair.
I
Yeah.
don't, and that's kind of what is like his Oldhim matchup is good. Like he's got a good Oldhim matchup. You run triple pulverize and you just like you you're doing good on
hmm
the efficiency game here. But and your Dromai matchup is good too.
Yeah.
Like that
I was
these
gonna
are
bring
these are
that
good
one up. Yeah.
matchups.
So
Yeah,
you have good
these are
matchups
good
into
matchups.
two of the top heroes already.
Yeah.
And then your Azalea matchup is fine. You don't.
I think you have reasonable matchups into Ranger on an overall spread. I don't think you're particularly super favored,
Mhm.
but Bravo is able to like push damage with on hits that disrupt.
Yeah.
CNC Pummel is still CNC Pummel. You got Crippling, you got Spinal. He could do some. He
Yep.
could do a lot of damage, and so I think that he's probably on the very high end of B.
hmm
What's hurting to put him in A is that first of all, I think his other matchups aren't super great. Like I think his Briar matchup isn't fantastic. I think his
Yeah.
Dash matchup isn't great.
Is
Um,
What else is there?
His Iyslander matchup is
Iyslander
like
as
that.
well.
Like,
Yeah.
but like the thing is like how many of these other decks are gonna show up? And I have to take it as like a spread. Like I can't just be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's only gonna be these top kind of decks that we're singling out. Um,
Yep. I agree.
so
Yeah.
I'm struggling between high B and low A because I think Bravo has game into these decks. I think piloted well,
Right.
Bravo's an extremely good hero.
I'm thinking that
So
A is going to be pretty stacked on this tier list. So I'm okay with B for now. Looking at the tier
we'll leave him in B for
list,
now. We'll leave him in
there
B
are
for
quite a
now.
few that I'm thinking might fit into A. So let's leave him in B, and we can move him up if we think
Mhm.
that he deserves a spot.
Yeah.
Um, so is
Briar?
it Briar next? Okay, so Briar. Yeah, so Briar's kind of fallen from grace a little bit. I think she was one of the premier aggro decks in past tier lists.
Yeah.
Now with
Almost up
Azalea,
to Living Legends. Almost.
yeah, very
Almost up
close.
to
Yeah,
Living Legends.
we're always kind of rooting for it, but not yet. So I think that B is probably a fair place for Briar. She did have a result in, I believe it was the Battle Hardened Richmond. I think either that one or the Chicago Brawl. There was a Briar in top eight. I'm just forgetting which one it was. So,
Mhm.
she's still a fine deck. She still has game into um into Dromai. It's probably okay, right? It's I don't really see it going one way or the other. So that one's okay. Oldhim is well, Oldhim's Oldhim, so I guess you can't really. If you give her a channel mount and Oldhim takes the back foot for a bit, she might be okay. But I don't think it's favorable for Briar at all. And against Azalea, Azalea has very good disruption tools that might just
Mhm.
stop her turn in its tracks. And Lexi just might outpace her. I think Lexi just has more damage than Briar does at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you're right on all those accounts. My issue with Briar right now, and I think she's sitting at a B right now, which is kind of ironic. Looks like we're just going by letter grades here, other than Boltyn and
that's not our
Arakni.
strategy, I swear.
Um, so Briar is still like a very high ceiling deck. The issue with Rune Blades is it hasn't changed. Your floor is atrocious, right?
Mm,
And I don't think you can go into PT with an atrocious floor into these decks who can just like Lexi could just if you give her an inch, she'll take more than a mile. She'll just take the
mhm.
damn game at that point, right? And I think that Briar has issues into she has issues into Azalea, she has issues into Lexi. I think she has
Iyslander
issues into
too.
Iyslander.
Yeah.
She has issues into Iyslander. Like Iyslander feeds off Rune Blades, pretty sure. Like
Mm,
it's depending on how they show up. I think Briar is like yeah, you beat like Dromai. Honestly, your Oldhim matchup's not bad. I think you can win that matchup by stringing together like the Evergreen combo, where you just kind of like they can't really fatigue you if you're just going to be on Evergreen combo.
mm.
However, those might just be like draws. Like the problem is that
Yeah. It's
I
just
don't really want
not
to count
that
on that.
favorable, right?
And I think Briar, there will be Briars. I think there definitely will be Briars because her ceiling is just still high, right? And I don't want to put her below B because I think she can still murk people. Like
Yeah.
she's extremely good at like high damage potential, but the lack of actual disruption just hurts too much into the top tier decks.
Yeah. I agree. B is fine. I think we'll leave her there.
Yep.
Next, do you have Dory?
Of Dash.
You have Dash.
DA.
I think I messed with my ordering a bit, so things are. But anyway, you are correct. Dash is before Dory. So
Yep.
Dash has seen results for sure. I
Mhm.
believe top eight in
Richmond.
the Richmond Battle Hardened recently. So Dash isn't really going anywhere. I think honestly, I'm pretty um, convinced she's an A tier hero, just because she really has so much to her package that she can have an okay matchup into most heroes. I'm convinced. I don't think she has a bad matchup. I'm trying to think of any hero that she has a really bad matchup into. Um,
Lexi.
which
We
is I was gonna
showcased
say
this earlier.
Lexi. That was pretty miserable. Yeah.
It was a non-game. I was
Yeah.
playing solitaire. it
Yeah. No,
was it was
that is
not it
fair.
was
That
not
is
fun.
fair. I'm trying not to base it off of one game because I know it could be a bit different. I don't think
Mhm.
she can race either. Even if you go the maximum velocity package, I don't think she has game into Lexi. Might be a fun thing to try, but I think there was a game where she just got steamrolled by Lexi
Mhm.
with the aggro
There
package.
was there was also a top 8 game in it was either the previous it might have been the Age Open or
Mm,
a Battle Hardened where there was a top 8 literally just Lexi just slowly disintegrating Dash on like the
mm,
defensive package. I think that you kind of like to your point, Dash like is definitely a dark horse to top 8 any event because of strength of schedule depending on who you're facing.
yeah.
Looking at the top decks though, like I think you're I think you could beat Azalea. I think you've got like a decent matchup into Azalea and only Azalea. I think your matchup into Lexi is just dog. Like I think it's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because like Dash is quite good at blocking tall decks because Immovable is a hell of a drug. Like Immovable
Yeah.
reinforced like
I think even
cards
the
that
aggressive
she had
lists run unmovable too, because you can run so many
in the
blues
board.
in the
Yeah,
board
in the
exactly.
board. Yeah, no, and you're right. And like she already runs this stuff for like CNC pummel, like reinforces and stuff like that. I think
Hmm.
if you tech correctly, you can kind of cover your butt into Oldhim
Yeah.
and Azalea. And that's pretty good in my books. I think your Dromai matchups is kind of bad,
Yeah.
honestly. I have not like I've played that matchup before. I think it's against like dragons and stuff. It's
You have a
they
lot
just
of sources with Go again though, so I think cleanup duty is actually not that bad with Dash because you can play a few boost cards and clear the field, right? Or your
it
pistol
really
too
depends
can like
on
clear the Ashwings.
yeah, it really depends on how many poppers you have and if you get them at the right spot. Because
Yeah.
if you're only on like
You have maximum
maybe double triple payload
velocities. You have payloads. You
and
have
velocities,
CNC as
that's it.
well. Some of them run
I
CNC, but not every list has it.
maybe, but I think it's like it's time. Like I think it's even-ish, but I think Droma has a bit of an edge because if you slam down a shit ton of dragons and you don't have a popper, you
Yeah.
can't kill all of them with a pistol.
Especially, yeah, you're
Like
right, and especially if the list is more aggressive than average, I think Dromai has a better chance into dash instead of just playing
yeah,
dragons, right? So yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
true.
think
Yeah,
and her matchup into Dory is pretty decent. Bravo
it's
is pretty
fine.
decent. Like, I think
Bravo's
she
pretty
her
favored, I
spread.
think.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know if it's pretty favored. I think Bravo could definitely win that matchup. I think it
Mm.
depends on the builds. I think if Dash is on an aggro build, I don't you can't beat
No,
Bravo.
no,
Bravo.
you can't. I think you still run
But
a
if
bit more
you're
of
on
the
the
mid range package.
hybrid defensive,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm okay putting it at A, but definitely kind
yeah.
of below Azalea.
Okay.
She doesn't blow out games like Azalea does. Like
Yeah. Okay.
if you're Azalea and you get your favorite matchup, you are crushing that matchup. If you
Mm.
get Dash and you're getting a favorite matchup, you still have to work hard for that win. It's not just like a freebie. Like they're not gonna turn over and just die. Like
Okay.
you have
Yeah.
to set up your board. You got pistol, blah blah blah,
Right.
and it's just like a little bit more. It's a little bit more work, honestly, but I think she's still a very good toolbox hero, and the
Yeah.
right list can definitely have a good shot with a good draft record, of course. But like for the CC portion, outside shot to top 8 for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. A sounds good to me. Dory.
Dorinthea, I'm actually so I was actually like solidly B on this hero, and I'm considering A, and the reason is
Hmm.
because that I think this deck can do like pretty nasty things to the Ranger if let loose. Um, and I don't know how many games we see this stupid Dory Dromai matchup. We saw it in the Age Open, and we saw the most recent one here. Dory ended up winning it, and she was
Yeah.
Pilot was just smushing the dragons here. We reviewed that matchup in the past too.
Right.
It's just so like you play that correctly and you
Yeah.
know what you're doing. Your Dawnblade is
It's
just fat
oppressive.
for the entire game. Yeah, and I think you could really control that matchup quite well
Mm-hmm.
as Dory. And I think having a favorable Droma matchup is good. I think your Ranger matchups are good. Specifically, like I think you could do decent against Lexi. It depends on the Lexi list, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that like your fridge is good. And so you
Yeah.
have a fighting chance at least because you can like tank a bit and try to snowball and try
Right.
to catch an off turn.
Just
Now it
get
depends on like
a glistening turn that they just have to block you out on.
yeah, exactly. And depends on the pilot, honestly. I think Dory's gonna have a better time into like maybe newer, like not new players, but obviously PT, but like probably like the newer converts to Ranger. I think Dory's gonna have a much better time because it's much harder to decide when to block and when to go ham. I
Right.
think Dory into Azalea is quite decent because Shunt is a hell of a drug. Like you could just straight up if you're on a shit ton of shunts, you could do quite well into Azalea.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
don't think you're crushing. I don't think you're crushing the matchup, but like you're pretty in an okay spot here.
Yeah.
And I think she's like always kind of okay to see like a deck like Katsu or just like
Mhm.
possibly Rhinar or like an off meta pick. I think she's okay against the board. Like
Right.
she's an overall she's not broken, like not even close, but she's got that overall kind of dash like matrix, but she's got the fridge. And man oh man does the fridge does it hurt. You
Does
know, it's like
it?
a Samsung, like the one with the screen that you could like look and talk to, and then you like
You
open it,
can
it like tells you when your
like
groceries are
knock
missing.
on and like turn on light and stuff like that. Yeah, smart fridge.
Yeah, and then you ask, and then like Shin's face pops up, like that Dory man that like, tells you what to do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's
and so
that's story in a
you
nutshell.
know,
Yeah,
you know what? My the same thing is like then you see Oldhim and lose. Like it's like the same. You
yeah.
lose or you take the draw and go to time. Like it's
Mm,
just so hard for Dory to consistently beat Oldhim in any regard. You know what? I
yeah.
think
But
I think unfortunately she's like the high end of B to me.
high B. Okay, I'm okay with that. I was thinking B as well. You were starting to convince me about A with the Dromai. Obviously, Dromai is amazing, right? And
I'm a
when you were
little
talking about Lexi, I was like, I don't know if she has much game into Lexi, but then Lexi can't just let you stack counters, right? So Lexi does have to block you out at some point, and when she does, you can take advantage of that game. So I don't know.
So
Yeah.
the caveat is I do think it depends if they're on the ice list or the fuseless
Fuse
list. So I
list,
do think
yeah,
it matters. I do think it matters. However, overall, I think we're gonna keep Dory at B. But
yeah.
she's like,
High B is fine, I
I,
think.
I would not be surprised to see a very skilled Dory player go the distance.
Awesome.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Do I Phi?
Dromai,
Dromai. That's another D. There we go.
Dromai.
I'm like looking down the list and doing my alphabet and trying to figure out what's next. All right. Yeah, Dromai. Okay, so I mean, we've kind of talked about Dromai a little bit or a lot at this point.
As like a secondary point of contention here.
Yeah.
I think Dromai's S tier,
S tier.
and I never thought I would say this out loud, but I
She's
think
never
it's a
been
function of the
S
meta.
in all of our
I
tier
think
lists. It's always been
it's
like B A.
purely yeah, it's purely a function of the meta. Like this is for the PT Baltimore meta.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't saying that Dromai is an S hero. I think that if you go in expecting a bunch of old hymns,
Yeah.
a bunch of rangers, stuff like that, I think she's an S tier hero. And let me kind of explain the notion here. Watching the games, playing her out, I think she's an extremely flexible hero. Um, and she's like you can there's things you could do into like your I think your matchup into Oldham's favored if you're on a skilled Dromai player.
Mm-hmm.
Your matchup into Oldham is generally favored. I think
Yeah.
you're good into the Rangers. Like yeah, you can get murked by like a particularly lucky uh Azalea or Lexi for that matter, or if they're playing very specific things, maybe they have a lot more poppers than you were expecting. Yeah, you could lose games, but I think it's still an overall favored matchup. Maybe not super favored, but I think you
Yeah.
could 50-50 at the very least. And the key
Yep.
is your Oldham matchup is not suffering, and you don't have to like stupidly tech. You don't have to give Oldham so many
Right.
cards that you're making these other matchups unwinnable,
Yep. Yep.
right? And her main flaw is yeah, her matchup into aggro is not like fantastic, like aggro with a weapon that can easily get rid of your drag. Like you're talking,
Yeah.
Fi's not in the meta anymore. Like I'm not expecting
Yeah.
Fi's to pop out of the woodworks here.
It's true.
And yeah, Katsu could be pretty good into Dromai, sure. I don't know how many of those we're going to be seeing.
Yeah.
But then there's matchups that you just crush, like you just dumpster Uzuri if you ever see Uzuri.
Mm.
You know what? Viserai is a bit of a pain. Yeah, if you see Viserai Briar, you're not gonna have a fun
The
time.
Rune
Like Rune
Blades.
Blades,
Yeah. But this is not a
Rune
Rune
Blades.
Blade meta right
Yeah,
now. I don't think you have to worry too much about them.
if you bring Dromai and you're getting like Briar Vis round one, round two,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you just got
It's
you
just
just got gems. Like you just got
Gem
gems. I'm
got you.
sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
gem got
Exactly.
you. You
I mean,
look James White dead in the eye
there,
and just be like, why'd you do this to me?
yeah, there will be
Why'd you do
Briars,
this
there
to
will be
me?
Viserais. There's always Briars and Viserais because they're always kind of middle of the line and they can high roll, right? So
Mm,
people who have them as their pet decks still have a reason to play them. And I know people
sure.
who really love their Viserai, who really love their Briar, and they will continue to bring them to PTs, to tournaments, and they're still fine. They're still fine heroes. So Dromai might have a tough, a tough strength of schedule or weakness of schedule, I guess, right? But
Yep.
yeah,
I definitely
I,
think she's
one of the
I'd
top
be
heroes to look out for, I think. Yeah,
yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if there wasn't at least one in top eight, if not like two.
yeah. Oh,
That would be
and
kind of my guess.
also just to top it off, she's seen results in both battle hardens, so I think yeah, she's fine.
That's fair.
Is it Fi's turn?
Now it's Fi's turn. We're going back to Uprising. Like the Uprising heroes are just next to each other. It's Fi and Iyslander here. So
Oh yeah.
Man oh man has Fi lost a lot of grace here. And
Mm-hmm.
the Belittle ban didn't help. I will say that
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you're just taking Belittle here,
Yep.
Belittle made the deck a lot more consistent, and it really helped
Yep.
his pump up his actual result numbers. Right now, there's nothing in this new set that has helped him kind of come up from the wood. Like if you're playing this deck and you run into Azalea or Lexi, I think you fold because they have
Mm-hmm.
disruption and power, and you just have power,
Yeah.
right? All your cards block for 2, and you barely run D reacts, and you don't run enough armor to really classify it as like a more than just a one-time block kind of like. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Right. It's
you
not
could
a fridge
you
by
could furnish
any
Shuko. No, you
stretch of the
furnish Shuko, and
imagination.
then you're just like, all right, I got my mask
You
that
just can't
represents 7
block with.
damage. I really don't want to block with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think there's very few reasons to bring Fi. I honestly putting him in C here. Like I don't
Oh, that far. Okay. Yeah.
like you lose Belittle and you gain nothing. And the top 4 heroes in the meta, you only want to see Dromai. You don't want to see
Mm-hmm.
Oldhim
No Oldhim either.
because
Yeah.
yeah, you might see like the more fatigue build, but you also might see mid range, which you're not favored into.
Yeah. You don't
You
want to
were
see
favored
Bravo.
before, and you're not favored now.
No Bravo. No Dory.
Bravo's like 50-50, honestly. I think
Yeah.
Fi can still beat Bravo, but like with again, like you got hit, and a lot of other people didn't, and I think Fi's C.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Fair enough.
the
I'll
power
put
is
him
fine,
above
but like
Boltyn for sure. If I
yes,
can
yes,
even do
please
that. There
please
we go.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
please don't
He's
do
not
that
worse
to
than
him.
Boltyn right now, anyway. Okay. Fair enough.
Iyslander.
Iyslander. All right. So another hero that fell from grace a little bit, right?
Yeah, and the main reason is Mr. Wonderkind, boy genius. There is that. I don't know what else people are
Boy
calling
Wonder.
Brody, but yeah, so what he did at the Chicago, he slapped Michael Hamilton with like the front hand in Swiss, and then in finals he backhand him. So he went 1 and 2, and I
Right.
think he just like he took both sides of the skin off, right?
Mm,
And when you beat Michael Hamilton's Iyslander twice in one tournament,
mm.
that sends a
That's
message. That sends a message. Maybe
yeah.
Iyslander isn't the queen anymore. And the key thing is that Azalea and Lexi and these decks that are able to just shove on hits in your face all the time that
Hmm.
hurt. Uh, the invention of inertia. Icelander's not a big fan of that one. I hear
Not at all.
Icelander likes Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, frailty is like fine, I guess, and then blood rot's not amazing either because generally your hands are quite tailored towards like you can't really like you're gonna be taking damage regardless, right? You don't really have another
Yeah. You
blue
either
most.
block or you pitch. So the
Yeah,
card that
exactly.
you spend is gonna have to be used somewhere, and there's often two sources
Yeah,
of damage that you gotta take care of at once. So it's
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I don't like the Ranger matchup into Azalea or Lexi.
Mhm.
The Dromai matchup was never good to begin with.
Yep.
I didn't really see it being great. I think you can beat Oldhim. I think Oldhim
Yeah.
also can beat you.
Yeah. It's a very
At the
even matchup.
highest at the highest of the highest echelon of Icelanders, maybe the top 3 Icelanders on the planet could probably consistently beat Oldhim. Probably most of the time. I
Yeah.
think for the majority of players, you just not you can't count that in the W column here. And so I think she's B tier. I think she still does well into
B
the
tier.
rune blades. You're still good into Dory. You're still good into like a lot of these other like Dory can still win. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
Um, but like you're still favored even by a slight piece here. You're still a strong deck. It's just the meta just it really doesn't feel like the meta for Icelander and CC. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
unless you're unless you think you're like one of the top 3 Icelander players. Like if you think you're better than Michael Hamilton, by all means play Icelander.
Yeah.
And you know what? You might do well, you might not. But I feel like for the majority of people, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
Fair enough. Okay.
Where do I want to put her in B tier?
So
Maybe
I
like
currently
next to
have
Bravo.
her. Okay, so lower than Dory. I have Dory as the
The
top of B tier right now.
Yeah, let's go Dory, Bravo, Icelander, Briar.
Okay, that works for me.
Uh,
Yeah.
and the reason is because I think Bravo has better matchups to the top 4 than Icelander
Hmm.
does by far.
Okay.
So there's
Okay.
really no reason why she should be under Bravo in this particular case.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, like Bravo might be over Dory. I think Bravo and Dory are right. I don't think Dory is better than Bravo in this particular meta. I think they're side by side. We just can't. We could put them on top. I'll
Right,
do that
right, right.
instead. But we
They're
can't.
at the exact same spot, I think. No reason
Kano,
for one or the other. Kano. Okay, yeah,
the Blaze Lord himself.
yeah. So we are always talking
Any
about
thoughts?
random Kanos just coming in and like blowing up, tournaments. When people least expect him, that's when he shines the most.
Hmm.
It's possible that with Iyslander dropping off a bit, Kano might rise a little bit, but he has an awful matchup into Oldhim. Um,
You get into
into
fatigue.
Yeah, it's true. Into Fatigue as well. Into Dromai, I believe that's pretty miserable. I think Dromai can
Yeah, because
just roll you
they
over
have
with
sand
dragons,
cover,
and Sand
sand
Cover is
cover Oasis,
basically like Oasis. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Oasis.
So,
They have
um,
both.
exactly, exactly. And they have a board state that you can't really clear as Kano,
Hmm.
unless you're
Yep.
running attack action cards, which you probably aren't. And yeah, that's pretty miserable. And then you got disruption from Azalea, and steamrolling from Lexi. So I don't really know if he has any game into any of those heroes. I guess there's always a chance you pop off, right? He
You
kind
just
of
go
has that he
fast.
has that high roll potential that Briar has that is not consistent, but it can be done. But you can't
Hmm.
just sit back and wait for your pieces to come together. I think you really have to push the gas with this hero because every other hero can just, I don't know, just pummel you to the ground if you're not careful. So I don't know. I don't really
Yeah,
think he has much game in this meta.
I put him at the bottom of B tier, and the reason why he's like not lower, for the reasons you already explained, I don't think I'd put him higher.
Mm.
Um, Kano in the hands of a skilled Kano player is always a threat, and
Yeah.
the thing is that there are decks that, like as you said, like Ranger that just kind of spews damage and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day,
Oh, and just
um,
boost dash too can just destroy you. So yeah,
yeah. But then if you're boost dash, you're praying to God you're not seeing any of the other meta picks that are just gonna block you out, right?
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I think Kano can has some tools. I think I've seen Imperial Edict, I think, get around like the
Mm.
big plays. Now, yeah, if you can slam down Edict and call Oasis and then pop off on your turn,
Hmm.
easily win games against decks that do that. And so there are
It's a good
tools.
point. Yeah, I
Uh,
did forget about Edict. Yeah, so there are ways that you can get around specifically one
mm,
thing, but then
yeah. I still think he has game, and
right,
so
right.
we're gonna put him at the bottom of B.
Yeah, I agree. We're shaping
Katsu,
a big middle finger now on the tier list.
we are
um,
shaping some Tetris looking shit right
all
here.
right. You
Um,
said Katsu? That's what I've got.
Katsu,
Yeah. All right.
Katsu the Wanderer. I've seen a lot more Katsu gameplay than I'd like to admit
Yeah. I
over
mean,
the last couple
Outsiders.
weeks.
He was one of the featured decks in Outsiders, right? He got a new
He
combo
was.
line, a pretty
He got.
good
Yeah.
combo line. I think objectively we can say it's a pretty good combo line, but
Hmm.
is it enough to make him one of the premier aggro decks in the format, and to even
Yeah.
push aggro into a position where it can be meta defining? I don't think so personally. I don't know about you. I think he's still a
So
little subpar.
Katsu got a whole lot of tools, right? He got Descendant Gustwave. He got the Descendant Gustwave line with bonds, very, very strong. Bonds of Ancestral Streets descending, very strong.
Hmm.
Dishonor line. He got a couple of anti-fatigue tools in the way of Visit the Floating Dojo.
Right.
Pretty strong card.
Hmm.
I think that Katsu is going to be a B for me. And the reason is because, again, we have to look at the most, like the decks that we're expecting to see the most, right? So let's look at the only matchup I'd like to see is Dromai. Like, I think as Katsu,
Mm.
I'm pretty happy if I'm seeing Dromai.
Right.
I think you get absolutely dumpstered by Azalea. I think it's not even
Mm.
close. Red in the Ledger is a card that just says
Take a
go
hike.
insert yeah, go
Insert
take a hike.
beep into beep.
Go
Yeah.
you just like just go home. Like just go home, fair one.
Mm.
But it's like your Azalea matchup is doomed. I think your Lexi matchup's also quite doomed.
Yep.
Maybe not as zoomed as Azalea, but still fairly doomed.
Hmm.
Uh yeah, if you see Dash, I think you're doing pretty good too.
Yep.
And
That's true.
Oldhim is just like I don't know how you beat Oldhim. Like I
Yeah.
think the matchup was not fun before. Yeah, you can spinning wheel kick his Rampart, okay. We actually saw this matchup in Swiss to one of the events. The Katsu was doing
Mm,
like pretty decent, and it just got kind of slapped by the Oldhim a little bit. A
right.
little bit. It wasn't like it wasn't a squash, but it was kind of just like Katsu throwing
Mm,
everything at him, and he wasn't
yeah.
even like. I think he ended up double digit, maybe not double digits. I think the key is people thought that like spinning wheel kicking the rampart is going to win the game,
Was like a
and that you
game
have
changer.
well, you have Vambrace, right? Like, so
Mm,
you're gonna run as Katsu, you're gonna run Vambrace, you're gonna run the roundhouse wheel kick, whatever it's called, not spinning wheel kick, it's the roundhouse kick or whatever, the majestic, and that's gonna somehow give you an edge into that matchup. I have not seen this give an edge into a good Oldhim.
mm-hmm.
I think because we saw the Katsu versus like Charles Dunn, who's like probably one of the best Oldhims in the U.S. Right? This is this is the kind of player I'm building this tier list on those kinds of players. Like these are the players who are going
Right.
to be coming out to a PT. I'm not
It's a
I'm not
pro
talking about
tour.
your
Yeah, pro tour tier list. Not
your
like your
your
locals
local
tier list. Yeah.
your local
Unless your
average
locals is stacked,
Spider-Man.
but
I have a pretty
most
stacked.
locals
I have a pretty
probably.
stacked locals. I
Right,
have a
right.
pretty
This is
stacked
this is
locals.
your
But the
locals
point the
tier
point
list right
is
here. Yeah.
yeah. So the point is that I haven't seen Katsu beat a good Oldhim yet. In any reasonable consistency. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Katsu. I think Katsu could take wins, but that doesn't like mean your favorite by any means. So I think that
Yeah. There
if
isn't
if
much of
if
a reason to
Dro
play him, I think.
like if you're trying to counter Dromai, there are much easier ways than bringing something that kind of loses to the other three, right? So I
Yeah.
think Katsu's still strong. I think he got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I will put him in B tier because he could do some pretty nifty stuff here.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
is funny putting Katsu above Fi. Where a couple of tier lists ago we were like, yeah, Katsu's just Fi's baby brother. It's like if you can't afford Artibors
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
interesting.
thing.
Yeah, that Fi has fallen below Katsu at this point. Yeah.
Well, Katsu never used belittle, and
Yeah.
Katsu also
It's a
got
good
some new
point.
cards that are a lot more
I mean,
Katsu based.
this is
So
Katsu's set, so if he is not better than Fi at this point, then why even bother giving him cards, right? So I
So
don't
I'm
know.
gonna put him. I'm putting him above Briar.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna put him below Briar, above Kano.
Okay,
So he's in
that's
B
where I
tier,
had
but
him
like
initially.
below it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because like I think he's still strong. I think he still could take some games. I don't really like his matchup into like any of the heroes above in any like reasonable sense.
Yeah.
I don't like his Dory matchup, his Bravo matchup. I don't like other than like the Dash and Dromai. I don't see a ton of matchups I really want to see.
Icelander's probably
Uh,
okay.
yeah, Iyslander could. It depends on your blue count. So if you're running too lean, then I think you're just gonna get like stalled with frostbites because
Yeah.
your stuff costs a lot,
But
right?
you often like pitch for
Um,
Kodachi anyway, so you can like give up a Kodachi here or there and still do okay with your combos. But
you might
it does
you might
depend.
just run like Kadachi Lantern or something like that, right?
Yeah,
So
that too.
I think it depends. Levia is this gonna be a short one.
Yeah, D I
I
think.
think unless you're like Mansent or something like that, I think
I
you
mean,
gotta play
not
this
even.
hero as a D.
Yeah, not even. I mean,
I think maybe
Mansen can bring
he
it to like a
can rank.
B maybe, but for the
Yes,
most part,
I would agree. I would agree. At a pro tour level, I think maybe he could get it. I think he could get some wins on it at a pro tour
yeah,
level, maybe.
yeah,
If the deck agrees with him in that particular context, because I've seen that deck just say, "No, I don't feel like winning today," just
yeah.
completely explode.
It's
Um,
way too many weaknesses, way too many ways for your opponent to get in there and just disrupt your game plan. You have good value. What the deck has going for it, it's really good mid range value, but it's not enough to be,
to be the best that there ever was.
yeah, like yeah, exactly, or not even to be the great or to be the goodest there ever was. It's like
Hey man, Ash didn't win for a long time. Took a
yeah,
lot of
20
championships for
years.
Ash to win.
um. Anyway, so yeah, she has nothing really going for her, I think, besides value, but that's not enough right now. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Lexi?
Lexi, all right. So we've been talking her up quite a bit.
Yeah,
Top
she's
of
S
A or
tier.
S? Yeah, okay, S. Yeah.
Oh no, she's S tier. Well, let me tell you why she's S tier.
I mean, I
Other
know
than
I felt why, I experienced why, but
I
Codex of
bet you
Frailty.
did.
Was it
Hell of a
Frailty?
drug.
Yeah, Frailty. Hell of
Yeah.
a drug. Yeah.
I mean, I used inertia, but it wasn't very good in that
Oh,
regard.
you
But
had both, right? Yeah, you played both.
so you sit across Alexi. The first thing you have to think about is, okay, so first of all, do I side into like the ice build or do I side into the fuseless build? They are two fairly different decks.
Yeah.
Like you could build Lexi like 20 different ways nowadays,
Hmm.
right? You could be Death Dealer Lexi for all I care, right?
Yeah.
But the key is she has a lot of tools because Ranger, like Lexi wasn't in the set, but Ranger was in the set.
Yeah.
And Lexi is the same thing as Azalea. You now have like a very big expanse of cards to choose from. And And I think her raw power combined with the fact that Voltaire is still really, really good.
Yeah.
All the Tales of Aria's weapons are just like busted, honestly.
Yeah,
They're
it's
all
true.
just
Yeah.
they're just super, super good, right?
One got banned.
Um
Or two
one
got
got
banned.
banned.
One got banned out of the
Rosetta
gate.
Thorn exists. Yeah, Rosetta Thorn still exists. I
And
mean,
Blade.
it's just
Yeah.
yeah, the
Voltaire's
other
good.
Majestic was already banned. Yeah,
Yeah.
Voltaire's a very, very, very good card. Lexi also has the benefit that her setup gets to use New Horizons. So she gets to like work off 6 card hands.
Yeah.
And she can do it on your turn. So turn 0 is like our turn. She can get punished. Don't get me. Lexi can get greedy.
Right.
But I think that the only issue Lexi has right now, and I mean the only issue Lexi has, is Oldhim. And I think that's a pretty good spot to be in if your worst matchup is
Mm.
Oldhim and you're min 50-50 or up. But when you're up, you smush it. So it's like, what I talked about Dash. It's like even when you're favored, you still have to work a lot.
Right.
But Azalea, you just smush. Lexi, you
Mm.
just smush even harder. Remember
Yeah.
that Dash matchup we talked about earlier? You
Mm-hmm.
just kind of just roll, right? Yeah, the deck could
Solitaire.
be annoying at times. The deck can
Yeah.
be annoying, and
Yeah.
I think the ice-based chilling Ice Vein deck versus the Fuseless list, two different decks,
Yeah.
similar but different Venn diagram kind of situation here. But I
Mm-hmm.
think overall, Lexi can go wide. Rain Razor's 3 of a kind. She can block
Yeah.
now because she has a ton of 3 block arrows. She doesn't have to
Yeah.
like scrounge together enough cards. You have the best. Some of the arrows have the best efficiency in the game because they come with on hits and it's 1 card that forces a 2 card block from your opponent in
Mm-hmm.
most scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
When you keep trading with that efficiency, Lexi can now just fatigue you out, which almost
Right.
happens
Which
per game,
in the olden days, it was actually quite. It was doable to fatigue Alexi. I know
right?
Rhinars did it
You can.
easily. I mean,
Yeah, you
you
could
you
definitely do
could
it.
you could you
Yeah.
could, but now with the arrows she got, I think with the new cards from Outsiders and the codexes, she
Codex
is
makes it difficult.
yeah the codex I guess really changed the landscape of the Lexi deck. So
You
I
also have to
yeah.
remember that she got this legendary quiver that lets her put 3 arrows back
Right,
into
so
her
you're
deck.
yeah, there you go. So you're combating fatigue in multiple ways now. So yeah, right. And the codex of I think it was frailty that takes from the
Yeah.
the graveyard, right? So you
Straight power creep. But
yeah, it's a really good card.
Lexi's a very strong deck. I think she's one of the premier decks and kind of the triangle we've been talking about earlier.
Right,
I think
so
Dromai is kind of knocking Azalea
Dromai,
up here.
Rangers, we're looping Azalea and
Yeah,
Lexi
but
together.
I think it used
Hold
to
it.
be Azalea Lexi, and now it's Lexi Azalea. So I
Okay.
think it just swapped as the battle hardens and other tournaments have gone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
let's just go on to Oldhim, shove him right up there at S
Sure.
tier. I think he's
Yeah.
still the best deck.
Enough said. Yeah, I'll put him right at the
And
top there. Yeah. Oh, is Lexi better
yeah,
than Dromai? I guess it doesn't really matter too much, but
yes,
I put her above
yeah,
Dromai.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, because Dromai has some like really bad matchups,
Right.
whereas I think the worst matchup for Lexi is only Oldhim, and I don't think it's an absolute smush. It's definitely unfavored,
Mm-hmm.
but like games into Dromai are very, very feast or famine kind of thing, right?
Right.
Um, but I'm
Sounds
gonna
good.
I'm gonna put Lexi. Lexi's just like I think she's just a bit better of a deck at the moment than Dromai, just because of the
Mm-hmm.
tools she got. Like she gets codexes and stuff like that. But Oldhim, um, I'm gonna consider the premier deck, which is absolutely hilarious, and it kind of just exacerbates the fact that printing a card like Van Brace doesn't mean Crown of Seas doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't know why, how many videos I saw with the title Oldhim is finally gonna be gone or he's
Mm.
finally bad. Like all these kind of
Like hype
punches towards
hype
Oldhim.
hype driven, like end of
Yes,
Oldhim. Yeah.
very very clickbaity kind of shit going on
Clickbaity.
here.
Right. Right.
Um, and like this new legendary seemingly made to target Crown of Seas at the moment. At the moment, it's just like how I don't know how many heroes can actually afford to put it in their list in their 80 card and not
Mm.
have to take away a card they actually need for more matchups, and B, be able to afford it literally every turn to be able
Right.
to turn off Crown of Seas every turn. And when you look at the decks that actually run Vambrace, I have only seen Katsu run that card in
Right.
Oldhim.
Because you have
And
the problem where if you're an aggressive deck, your blues are typically not that high. So
yeah,
you're not paying for your red attacks and then also paying for Vambrace at the same time, right? Where Katsu can
mhm,
probably do it because of the blue count, but if you're an aggressive deck, good luck doing that.
yeah. And I think that there's two Oldhim decks running around. There's the more mid-range style, a little bit more aggressive, kind of akin to the one people ran earlier, with a slightly different defensive tool. So they might be on like, a couple of red staunches, some peace of minds, oasis, but they might not be on like the healing package. So they might not be running like healing bombs and sun
Mm.
kisses and stuff like that. So that's the more like fatiguey life gain package when you're
Mm.
on sun kiss, when you're on healing bomb, all that kind of stuff. Hard to find out. So I think there's two different decks, and I think they do have different strengths and weaknesses. I think
Yeah.
the fatigue life gain style is much better into different kind of decks, whereas the mid range style you kind of need to um, battle decks that you can't just sit there and do nothing, right? And I'm not gonna like differentiate between which one I think is S tier. I think Oldhim in general is just S tier.
Right.
Super favorable to we kind of mentioned it. Very favorable to the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
The Dromai matchup again. I think Dromai still is a little bit favored. I think Oldhim can still win that matchup pretty reasonably.
Yep.
I think you're pretty happy to see Dash. Like I think you're okay unless it's Tree Frog Dash, which loses to like everything else,
Yeah.
the really life gating build that came out to like stop Oldhims.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh, I think you're fine into the other dash builds. I think you still like crush Dory. Bravo, I think is pretty hard. And I think a good Iyslander can beat Oldhim also.
Mm-hmm.
So there's caveats. I don't think Oldhim is unbeatable.
Yeah.
But let's look at the results. Like what Battlehard Richmond
Um.
was two Oldhims in top in
Yeah.
the finals
The
was Oldhim v
finals is
Oldhim and
Oldhim
Oldhim won.
versus Oldhim. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the funny part
Mm.
is they had different lists. One of them had a more mid-rangey list, the other had a more fatiguey list.
Yeah, and
And
they
so
both
I'm literally
performed.
trying to
Yeah.
there was Oldhim in the other battle hardened top
Yeah.
eight, I think. Not the
The
yeah
Chicago
the
Brawl.
yeah
Uh.
yeah the brawl. I keep calling it battle hardened, but it was like the other big tournament
Yeah.
you can take from it, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. I think there's no doubt
yeah,
that he's top of the food chain still.
yeah, yeah. He's not the unequivocal best deck, but I
Yeah.
think he's the best deck for this event overall spread if you can play him properly.
Yeah.
People without a lot of reps on Oldhim, like a medium Oldhim and a good Oldhim, very big peak valley, very
Hmm.
big valley to those two peaks, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Versus like a newer five player and like a five player who's played like 20, 30 games. I think it's like the same,
Right. Yeah,
more
there
or
isn't too
less.
much of a
Yeah,
skill gap there. Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
Reiner.
All right, Rhinar. Well, I, it's funny. You know, we always talk about Rhinar as being like great into control matchups, and when the aggro decks die down, Rhinar then can rise up. But like he doesn't have results. I don't know. It's like where
Because
are the
nobody's
Rhinar
bringing
players?
Rhinar.
Like where are the
Uh,
Rhinar
they're, they're,
players? Yeah,
they
I
didn't want
mean,
to pay for the flight to get boosted by
yeah.
aggro.
So dumpstered by Lexi, of course. There's like no way. Um, uh, Dromai's okay, but the aggro list kind of poses some issues. But the good thing
Yeah,
about Rhinar is that you have all the poppers in the world, so you can deal with dragons no problem. But if the Dromai deck is more aggressive, then that kind of
red
falls
lining up.
into your weaknesses, right? So they can play around you. Oldhim is fine, but the mid range Oldhim is still very annoying, right? Like if you're against a super controlled Oldhim, you're fine because you can
Yeah,
intimidate
you'll be
cards in their
good.
hand, run them over. But if
Yep.
they're mid range, you still get disruption. You still,
You can
uh,
still lose. Yeah.
you can still lose. Dash is fine, I guess, but then if it's a boost dash deck, you lose. So Reiner,
You
it
can't you can't just block out boost dash. I think you run like a fair amount of D reacts,
yeah, I
just
guess
like
because you
from
have
the
reckless
sideboard.
swing, you have the extra D
Yeah,
react. So
you run reason. I think you're like just happy into dash in general. I think you just like run it.
yeah, that's
You
true.
get your
That's
you
true.
get your arc smashes. It's like
You're
okay, well even if they're not on items, you can still just blocks for three. You know.
Yeah, it's true. You box for three on every card in the deck. It's true. There
I
are
think Rhinos
cards in the
are good
deck that
dash.
don't block though, so it depends on whether or not you're running the draw discard mechanic. I don't think you are in this meta. It's probably not the meta for that. But anyway, I'm okay with top of B. It's not top of B. I was gonna say top of C, maybe low B. I don't think he is really up there in the meta right now because there's too many matchups that aren't going his way. And plus, you still
Yeah,
lose to the Fies, still lose to the Briars, lose to the Katsu too if there's a Katsu. Um,
yeah, not necessarily like you're not favored in those matchups. I think
Sorry,
is
what's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying
yeah,
it's an auto lose, but I'm saying that
yeah.
it's
You're
an
not
uphill
happy into
battle into
Briar.
those heroes.
Yeah,
You're into
you're okay into
Dory.
Icelander.
Yeah,
Dory's the fun. I think
Icelander's a decent matchup.
I think
Um,
Rhinar's actually pretty decent in Dodori, but
yeah,
I don't think those are like I don't think that matchup's gonna pop up that much at
no,
PT,
I'm just
right?
looking at which matchups he has like on his level if it was B, right? So he's okay into those heroes.
Put him to the right of Katsu. So between
Okay.
Katsu and Kino.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
I
sorry, right
honestly
of
think
Katsu. Yeah, yeah, okay.
yeah, I think honestly him and Kano are at like the same level for me. Like I think if you
Hmm.
come in and you get gem blessed, you can like ride your way to a bunch of like really
Hmm.
nice matchups and nice wins. And I think if you're not, you're just gonna get like boosted. Like I don't
Yeah,
you're just gonna get right out of there.
it's okay.
Speaking of someone who
Once he gets up, before you jump onto Riptide,
sure.
I was gonna say, until the Savage Land comes out, I think Rhinar is
Uh
not gonna be that good of a hero, in my opinion.
watch
As
us
much as I
get well
hate to say it, I don't think he's gonna be top of the food chain anytime soon.
yeah, we're gonna get the best Rhinar spoilers. It's
I
gonna be like some
can't
random
wait.
card.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's gonna be a blue 6 power, and everyone's gonna lose their shit. Be like, this
Finally,
shouldn't be allowed to exist.
give us a
Well, you have
Wrecker
Wrecker
Rob
Rob.
2.0. It's the
No,
only
Wrecker
one.
Rob should not have been printed.
I
It's the only one. It will stay the
disagree.
only one.
I disagree. We need another one.
Only Guardian gets to have good blue cards. Just get out of here. Only Guardian's allowed.
Yeah,
Reinhardt's not
Rhinar
allowed to
needs
be
it.
second
You
level.
know, so many times I've had Blood Rush Bellow turn and I couldn't pay for the second claw, and I'm like, come on, I just need another blue card, right? Like, you don't use your Blood Rush unless your whole hand is 6 attacks, because then you have a chance of discarding a non-6. But then that means none of them are blues, so you got to rely on drawing blues after it. If you don't, then your turn is pretty dead. So I don't know. One more six attack blue.
I got the smallest file in for you right here. But
Anyway, I think I'm okay with low B for now.
yeah.
Okay. So speaking
Um,
of boosted, is that what
no,
you're gonna segue
and
into?
he's just like someone has to break this deck eventually. There's got to be something to this hero that we just don't know about. Like he's good in limited. Like I actually like him a fair amount in limited. People really didn't like him in limited. I think he's very strong in limited actually. Like there's a reason he's 19 health in limited and
Right.
38 in CC. Like
Right.
it's not for no particular reason.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone. I think people tried and they just like realized it wasn't worth the effort and they just kind of
Right. It
stopped.
was a quick experiment, and then
Yeah,
there was
and I
yeah
think you
yeah.
like the traps just don't do enough. I think they're a cool mechanic. I don't know what this deck's gonna do at Baltimore. I
Hmm.
don't think it's gonna show up. It's gonna be D for me,
Yeah, D's
like the
fine with me.
bottom of D,
But
like
oh,
the bottom of D.
how about above Levia?
Okay, above Levia, below No, I still like Levia more than Riptide. I
Okay.
still think
Okay.
Levia will win that matchup. I still think Levia will win that matchup.
I'm hoping we don't get too much hate for putting Riptide at literally the bottom of the tier list right now.
Look, if someone can break him
Yeah.
and like do well at PT, I'll eat my words. It's
It'll come
fine.
with time. It'll come with time. Yeah. Okay, Uzuri is next. So I guess you have a bit of experience on Uzuri. I have
I have played some Azuri.
no opinion on this one, so I have no idea.
I this was the deck I built for Spark of Mediocrity, and we did also play some CC games on my
Hmm.
like secondary build. We saw Sam Dando bring a list to top 4 in
Right. There was, yeah,
Chicago.
that's right. It was the Chicago Brawl. Yeah, so there was a top 8 performance, at least.
Yes,
Or
there was
exactly.
also a top 8 in Battlehard Richmond. There was another list top 8 at Battlehard
Oh, was
Richmond.
there? Okay, I must have missed that. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Okay, okay.
yep. It
So
was
there are showings. The deck is doing something.
our showings, and the deck is looking to be on the more aggressive side. It's not an aggressive deck inherently, but it is looking to be like the top 8 of Richmond was on like triple very similar to Sam Dando's list, triple nimblism,
Hmm.
and similar to the one that I kind of put on. There was some different stuff. I also love LSS's deck lists for like they put on Fab TCG. Like
Hmm.
yeah, infecting shots probably not in the Uzuri list.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I've seen
I'm just
some wacky stuff on those lists. Yeah.
um, but like the core is kind of the same, right? You've got some interesting additions, a very toolboxy kind of deck. Like Uzuri is one of the ultimate toolboxes, right? Because your ability lets you like swap in whatever you want,
Right.
as long
Right.
as you could legally play it.
Hmm.
And like she's able to run Vambrace, so like her Oldhim matchup actually is like fairly reasonable. I think
Hmm.
like she could actually win that matchup, like which is kind of funny to say. You run Scale Peeler, you run Vambrace, and you're doing okay for yourself here. And I
Yeah.
think she's able to cheat a lot of resources to actually get some games. I think she also gets to use Codex, kind of nice.
Right.
Death Touch, a hell of a card.
Death touch. Yep.
Her specialization, Shakedown, very strong specialization, very very good. Her disruption is top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Shakedown, surgical, leave no witnesses,
Yep.
codex to get any of those back, CNC. Like she's got the tools. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she's overall um good all around deck. The issue I have with Baltimore is it's looking more and more like your toolbox will now have to like you're gonna have to pick something out of that toolbox and
Mm.
like
Spreading
you're
too
gonna go
thin.
do a okay. Here's Uzuri. I've got another metaphor for this one. So here's Uzuri. So you're a construction worker. You're going in, you go into the job here. You get to the job site, construction site. You got your little toolbox. I've never done construction in my life, by the way.
You got
You got your
toolbox
belt.
around your belt. Yeah.
you got you got your toolbox, you got your belt, you got a bunch of tools. Can I go to this site and I'm going to like do something specific on the building? Do I bring my entire toolbox and tool belt all at once and go up there to,
Mm-hmm.
to the site? No, I usually put
Climb
my
the
toolbox down.
scaffolding
Yeah,
with
you
your
you
toolbox.
climb the damn you go on the damn skyscraper with your entire kit here. Now
Uh,
you usually pick like you got your tool belt, you got your toolbox, you load your tool
you
belt
got
with a
the
couple of the tools you need,
necessities. You
and
got
then you go.
your hammer. You got your
Exactly.
measuring tape. Your level. Yeah. Okay.
And then there's the guy who just got here. He's just got a hammer, but because he didn't have to go rummaging around, he's just starting to like hammer everything he sees. But he's getting further than you because you only needed a hammer in the first place. You kind of get
Okay.
what I'm saying
Do
here?
you think she just
It's like
has too much unnecessary stuff? Like,
I think in this meta you have to pick and choose. I don't
so
think like
one tool is gonna get you far in this meta.
I think you have to make a meta call as Azuri, and if you're right, you're very right, and if you're
Mm-hmm.
wrong, you're doomed. And I
Okay.
think it's
Yeah.
just like gem dependent, meta dependent. I think she's an A tier hero. I think she's right next to
Yep.
Dash. And
I.
it's funny because both of
Yeah.
these heroes have the same kind of toolbox mentality.
Yeah.
But what's stopping them from breaking into that top four is that I don't think that's really what's going to be great in the meta right now. I think you need
Yeah.
to make a call. And you kind of got to stick with it.
I have her
Um,
below dash currently. Should she
I have
maybe
her. I have
above?
her above Dash. I
Above?
have her
Okay.
above Dash.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
okay with that. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice
I
to see
think.
someone from outsiders getting some love here. So
I
I'm
think
fine
your
with it.
Dromai matchups a little on the doomed side. I don't know how you deal with dragons. You don't
Mm,
have that many poppers. Like you do have poppers.
yeah.
You
Shakedown. I
don't really
mean,
want to
you
be
you run a maybe six.
shakedown CNC.
Yeah. At least that's it.
Yeah, no death touch. So 1 for 6.
Oh,
So you
death
have
touch too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
CNC death touch.
That's
You have poppers, but I wanna hit her with those cards. I don't want to have to
yeah.
use those to pop. It's not like Rhinar and Bravo, just random blues or yellows in Rhinar's case.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Are just like
A wrecker
poppers, right? And you just rinse it. Yeah, but like, do I really want to be popping these cards with like my premium attacks? Like,
No,
this doesn't
you
feel
don't really
very
want
very
to.
cash
Yeah.
money, you know?
But I
Doesn't
mean,
feel very cash
you
money at
should
all.
because you want to break the dragons anyway. So it's like
True.
a pauper is just so much value for you, but then you're giving up your high priority, reaction cards, and it
Yep.
hurts. Yeah, it does hurt.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I think she can get close to, if not exactly 50-50 into Oldhim. I think she's still a little bit depending on the tools you're bringing in here. I
yeah,
don't think she's amazing into Oldhim, but she can hold her ground, especially with Van Brace and Peeler.
hmm
I think she's pretty decent into Azalea. I think she's got like some good game into Azalea. Lexi is a little bit tricky. I don't think she has a great matchup into Lexi. I think if you literally never miss disruption, you,
yeah.
you can
You,
win.
you
Like, if you have
literally have to
disruption every single turn,
yeah,
then yeah.
keep her in a cage while she's trying to
Yeah,
break out every single
I'll
turn.
let
So
her. It's just like a childproof cage. You know, those little toddlers are like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
like
yeah.
big toddler.
Exactly. And they keep finding a way to
Um,
break out, and you got to keep putting them back in it. And
yeah,
the second you let them out, they mess with the kitchen sink or something, right? So,
yep.
yep, I agree.
But I
So,
like her matchup into like everything else. I don't think her Iyslander matchup's that great, but I don't think you're gonna see that many Icelanders. So
mm, that's fair. Cool. Okay.
yeah,
So,
she's kinda good.
the last one I have is Viserai.
The last one I have is also Viserai.
Cool.
Viserai, oh Viserai. Why are you always second fiddle to Briar, and why aren't you better?
Mm,
Uh, oh, well, he used to be better, and then they realized you can't just like Skeletor Sonata and draw 10 cards.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
a little too
He's
broken.
very on or off switch. He's he's either
Is
on or
he?
he's not. I don't think he's particularly good right now.
Yeah, is he? The question for me is he top of C or bottom of B?
Yeah, I currently put him in top of C as a first place. But
Is he really worse than Kano?
That's what I'm asking myself. Like, there's probably a reason
I
to
put him
play
above
him.
Kano. I would put
Okay.
him above Kano.
Okay.
There's a reason. There's a reason. You
Mm.
only see Dromai. If you walk into the event and you look at the
Mm.
TO and be like, only Dromai, and you just get only Dromai,
Yeah.
you're chilling.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
Also, I like Viserai into Oldhim. Sorry. Let me recant that
I
statement.
have questions.
I think Viserai on certain builds can do okay into
Okay.
Oldhim.
Yeah, that's all
Uh,
some people can ask for. That's all some heroes
yeah,
can ask for right now in this meta, right?
yeah. I think if you run into Lexi Azalea, you're not having fun.
Yeah.
I think Uzuri Dash is also neither of them are fantastic. Like you're
Hmm.
looking for as many free wins as you can. If you're playing a B tier hero,
Right.
I think the key is like how many freebies do you have outside of the top three decks, top three,
Mm-hmm.
four decks, right? And if you have a bunch of matchups you smash,
Mm-hmm.
it's not bad. Like I think you're good into Rhinar, like you're good
Yeah.
into
Yeah. Rhinar can't really
a
deal
whole
with
whole
you.
bunch of other decks. I think you're good into Iyslander too. Like definitely compared to
Mm-hmm.
Briar into Iyslander, I think Viserai has a much better shot into Iyslander with the discounts and such.
Yeah.
Um, I think your Bravo matchup's like 50-50. Like I think your Dory
Right.
matchup is also probably 50-50 because
Yeah.
you've got some armor. So I think you're actually like in an okay spot as Viserai.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where he goes on B. Maybe he's above Rhinar, honestly, because I think he
Yeah.
beats Rhinar. No, like I think
Yeah.
Viserai or Rhinar is like
Yeah.
pretty good for
Rhinar
Viserai.
struggles against Rune Blades generally, so I'd put him above
I
Rhinar.
put him above Rhinar, but I think Katsu will do fine into Viserai. I think
Yeah.
Briar does fine. Iyslander is but like we're doing Iyslander
Mm.
into everybody else. It's not just Viserai. Uh, I think Viserai
Mm.
he hasn't gotten any more really tools. He didn't really get anything from Dynasty. He got nothing from Outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yep.
chilling. Like the minute Briar eventually LLs, if she does, like he's gonna lose Rosetta.
Yeah.
He's gonna
Exactly.
have to go back
Um.
to
That'd be
what's
very
that
sad for
one called?
Viserai because he's not even abusing it that. Well, I mean, okay, it's actually really good in Viserai, but it's not like
He's not
abusive
abusing it.
level.
Excuse me.
Like,
Excuse me.
no, it's true. No,
Revel,
never mind.
Revel and Rude
Yeah, yeah,
Blood.
yeah. I was gonna say just a very easy giving
He
your
might get a new weapon.
uh
Maybe.
he might, yeah. But
Maybe.
honestly, losing Rosetta would actually just break Viserai. I don't think he'd be very viable without it.
Yeah, there's not a ton of reasons to run Viserai here. I mean, there will be people who run it and then they say it's good. And it's like, yeah, you can probably win. None of these heroes you're just gonna like guaranteed lose every game. So I want to be very clear with this here.
Hmm.
All of these heroes have game into something at some point. It's just some of them have a lot more game into a lot more heroes in more situations,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This
So
tier list is just measuring the ability of heroes to like go further in this tournament. None of
yeah,
them are gonna smash completely. The heroes at the top kind of do triangle each other, right? So no hero is
a little
completely
bit. Yeah.
outbalanced. So it's yeah. Every hero has
My
game
guess.
somewhere, but some of the ones at the bottom of this tier list, um, you have very niche matchups where you're gonna do well, and others you're good into most things. So that's kind of how we're
Yeah.
viewing this
I
tier list.
think I think the top eight's going to be two Oldhim, one Lexi, there's going to be two Oldhim, one of everybody else in S and A. So
Okay,
2-1-1, 1-1-1, and then one hero from B. And you get to pick who that hero from B is. I think that's
nice.
going to be what top eight. And the reason is because that's what top eights have looked like for the last little
Mm,
bit.
it's
And
true.
I don't really see that changing, honestly. I think if anything, I'd expect to see two Lexis and maybe one Oldhim. Possibly, it
Hmm.
really depends because it's a mixed event. And so it's like, how many of these heroes are going to get there based on their C? Like their pilots are just very good in CC, and they just like bomb drafts, so they're not top eight. Like
Right,
it's a
right.
hybrid event, so it's not like PT Jersey. Like we can't really predict. But my guess is going to be 2-1-1-1-1,
Okay, and
and then
then
maybe like a Dory
maybe
or a Bravo
Iyslander.
or a Briar. Yeah, yeah. I think probably more likely one of the top four compared to the bottom four. Like
Right.
one Dory, Bravo, Iyslander, Briar. We've seen all these heroes sneak into top eights
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
If
yeah,
anything, maybe yeah, I think probably one of those. That's my guess.
yep. It's a good guess. How do you feel about rebalancing a bit for the
I think it's
C or
perfectly
A?
fine.
Okay, B's looking kind of stacked, but that's typically how this works anyway. It's the
I think
middle of
it's
the
supposed
line, and it's gonna look like a
yeah,
little bit like a mountain. So it's okay. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
okay with that.
I think it's kind of where you want it to be,
Yeah.
honestly, and then kind of shifting around. These are hybrid events, so
Hmm.
that being said, I think I think we're good here.
Yeah, I have
So
no changes I really want to make here. I think we have this pretty good. Again, this is just our opinion, right? Don't come at us with pitchforks, please.
no,
This
you can
is
come up with
or
pitchforks. That's
or
fine. Well,
come at us with
welcome all kinds
pitchforks,
of
and
opinions.
we'll welcome you with open arms. But
Let us know in the comments. Are we idiots? Are we correct?
yeah,
If any other comments on heroes you'd like to share your own experiences, I'm not omnipresent. Neither of us know everything. We're again aggregating data from Talishar, the events,
mm,
playtesting, like everything in one, and this is kind of what we're seeing. And so this is kind of what we think is going to be going into the PT. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, from wherever you are in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening.